Good morning. We begin with the next session on vocabulary. The keywords today are global mobility and expatriation, emerging markets and geoeconomics, and then our related idioms, phrases, and jargons which are specific to these two key words. So, vocabulary related to global mobility and expatriation is essential for organizations operating internationally. This kind of vocabulary allows HR professionals, managers, and employees to discuss the logistics, policies, and experience associated with relocating staff across borders. This kind of vocabulary is crucial for handling everything, let's say recruitment, compliance to employee well being, and also cross cultural success during international assignments. A better grasp of this kind of language and vocabulary support effective um, planning and communication throughout the relocation process. This also plays a vital role in global project management, compensation and benefits, and providing support for employee adjustment before, during, and after working abroad. Let's look at some key vocabulary and their meanings. So, we have global mobility, which means, as we all know, the movement of employees or professionals or even workers across international borders for work. And this is often managed through corporate programs. So, since our course is specific to business English communication, we are talking about global mobility in corporate situations, business situations. Expats. So, an expat is a person, an employee sent by their employer to work in a foreign country for an extended period. International assignment. This particular period is in which an employee temporarily relocates abroad to fulfill business objectives. Relocation package. This means this embodies benefits and support provided to employees and sometimes families when moving to a new country. Repatriation. This is the process of returning an expatriate employee to their home country at the end of an assignment. And then we have cross cultural adjustment. This is the process of adapting to a new culture, including customs, languages, and business practices. Host country. This is the country to which an employee is assigned for work abroad, and home country is the employee's country of permanent or residence or origin. Let's get familiar with these terms. Dual career couple, a situation where both partners seek employment opportunities during an international assignment. We have posted worker, which means an employee sent by their employer to carry out work in another country on a temporary basis. Global talent is an international professional with the skills and experience to work effectively across borders. Assignment allowance is that extra financial compensation for costs related to living and working abroad. Cost of living adjustment means adjustments to salary or allowances to reflect differences in living expenses across countries. Immigration compliance adheres to visa, work permit, and residency requirements in the host country. We have tax equalization, which means company policy to ensure expatriates um, neither gains or nor loss financially from differences in tax systems. Cultural training, as we all know, has become extremely important. In fact, there are exclusive courses done on cultural training specific to the country that one may be relocating to. So, this means preparation offered to employees and their families to ease adaptation to new cultural environments. For example, uh, the kind of attitudes and behavior that is expected at airports, at shopping centers, at shopping malls, at places of entertainment, and of course at the workplace. So this is cultural training. Localization is the process of transitioning an expat's salary, pay, and benefits to align with those of local employees. We have global assignment policy, which means company guidelines for managing international moves and expatriate experiences. Permanent transfer means when an employee moves indefinitely, becoming a regular employee in the host country. Short term assignment are those assignments that are typically lasting less than 1 year with return to the original location guaranteed. Let's look at examples in sentences. Our company's global mobility program helps us place employees in offices around the world. Next, as an expatriate, John will spend 2 years working at our Singapore branch. Next, she accepted an international assignment in Brazil to lead the new project team. Next, the relocation package includes airfare, housing support, and moving expenses for our employees. Next, HR organized a smooth repatriation for the team after their assignment in Germany ended. Cross cultural adjustment can take several months, especially in countries with different customs. Next, France will be Maria's host country for her next role. Next, when the project ends, she will return to her home country, Canada. Next, as a dual career couple, they both looked for job opportunities before moving to Switzerland. Next, a posted worker must comply with both home and host country employment laws. Next, we recruit global talent to fill specialized roles in our overseas offices. Next, the company provides an assignment allowance to cover extra costs when abroad. Next, a cost of living adjustment was added to his salary due to Tokyo's higher expenses. Next, strict immigration compliance. So, see how immigration compliance can be used in a sentence is essential for employees working internationally. Next, the company manages tax equalization so employees aren't penalized on international assignments. Next, we offer cultural training sessions to employees and their families before moving overseas. Next, after 2 years, Sarah switched to a local contract as part of the localization process. Next, our global assignment policy outlines benefits and procedures for international relocations. Next, he made a permanent transfer to the London office and now lives there full time. Next, her short term assignment in Dubai will last for 6 months before she returns home. We move on to phrases and jargon. So, familiarize yourself with a couple of jargons. First, cross cultural onboarding. This means orientation for expatriates to help them adjust to the norms and practices of the host country. Again, this requires not just workplace behavior and understanding the culture and customs, but also social and uh, places where you go around for recreation and entertainment. So that's what's meant by cross-cultural onboarding. Trailing spouse and partner. This means the partner who moves to the host country for the sake of the employee's assignment. Then we have assignee tracking. This means monitoring the locations, visas, and compliance status of globally mobile employees. We have split pay, which means arranging an expatriate's compensation to be delivered in two different currencies or locations. So that means if an expat is working uh, or doing work for more than one country, so then the salary can also be compensated and adjusted according to two different currencies based on the locations. We have idioms and expressions such as hit the ground running in a new market, which means to start working effectively and enthusiastically upon arrival in the host countries. The expression itself says it all, hit the ground running. That means to start working upon arrival. Bridge the cultural divide means take action to overcome differences in customs or business etiquette. Navigate the red tape, that means successfully managing complex administrative or legal procedures, especially for visas and permits. To find your feet abroad or to find one's feet abroad means to adapt and adjust after arriving in a foreign country. To bring global experience to the table means to contribute international knowledge and skills to business discussions. Now let's look at some exercises. Fill in the blanks. Choose the best word given here from the list for each sentence. Your terms are home country, short-term assignment, localization, cross-cultural adjustment, global talent. A dash can help build a company's international expertise. B. We initiated dash so that expat salaries align with local standards. C. Employees who adapt to local customs are demonstrating strong dash. D. After a year abroad, he returned to his dash to manage a regional team. E. The company offered her a dash in Paris lasting just 6 months. And answers are global talent, B, localization, C, cross-cultural adjustment, D, home country, and E, short-term assignment. Let's look at this exercise. True or false? State whether each statement is true or false. A relocation package typically only includes the employee's flight costs. True or false? B. Dual career couples may face challenges finding suitable jobs for both partners during an assignment. C. Tax equalization is designed to help expatriates avoid paying any taxes during their assignment. D. Host country refers to the place an expatriate is sent for work. E. Immigration compliance is not necessary for short-term assignments. Here are the answers. A false, B true, C false, D true, E false. Let's move on. And here is another exercise for you. Identify the phrase or idiom. So, which idiom or phrase from the list best fits each description? A. Starting work quickly and effectively in a foreign office. Dash. B. Overcoming differences in business etiquette. Dash. C. Facing and managing bureaucratic challenges. Dash. And answers are A. Hit the ground running in a new market. B. Bridge the cultural divide. And C. Navigate the red tape. Facing and managing bureaucratic challenges is navigating the red tape. We talk now about the second key term that we have introduced for today's session, that is emerging markets and geoeconomics. So, emerging markets refer to economies that are rapidly developing and integrating with global markets, moving from low or middle income status toward higher income levels. These countries are characterized by rapid economic growth, expanding middle classes, and increasing digitalization. Geoeconomics, on the other hand, describes the strategic use of economic tools such as trade policy, sanctions, and investment to achieve geopolitical objectives. So, vocabulary related to these terms is used in contexts including investment decisions, entry strategies, trade negotiations, and policy discussions about global economic competition. Let's look at the key vocabulary and their meanings in this context. First, emerging market, an economy transitioning from low to middle to high income, rapidly growing and integrating with global markets. BRICS, this is a group of countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These are the major emerging economies. Frontier market, this is a less developed, riskier, or less liquid market than a mainstream emerging market. Next, economic liberalization. This means reducing government intervention and promoting open markets and foreign investment. Next, catch up growth. This means rapid economic expansion that helps narrow the income gap with advanced economies. Next, institutional reform. These are the changes that improve economic policies, reduce corruption, and strengthen financial legal systems. Next, middle class expansion. This means rising share of the population with disposable income, fueling consumption. Next, capital inflows. This means investment funds from abroad entering emerging market economies. Next, sovereign risk. This is the risk that a country may default on its debt, on its debt or change its regulations unexpectedly. We have currency volatility. This means fluctuations in exchange rates, often higher in emerging markets. Next, market openness. This is the extent to which a country permits the flow of goods, services, and capital with the rest of the world. Next, trade surplus or deficit. This is the value difference between a country's exports and imports, often a focus in emerging markets. Next, political risk. This is the potential for regime changes, policy shifts, or instability affecting investments. Next, resource dependence. This means reliance on commodities such as oil and minerals, which can increase vulnerability to global price swings. Next, economic statecraft. This means government management of economic policy to achieve its strategic advantages internationally. Sanctions are those economic or financial restrictions that are imposed to influence behavior of countries or organizations. Next, trade policy. These are government strategies on imports, exports, tariffs, and trade agreements to gain advantage. We have market access, which means the ability for foreign businesses to enter and compete in a domestic market. And we have a strategic investment, which means targeting foreign investment, often in infrastructure, technology, or resources for broader policy aims. State capitalism means an economic system where the government controls significant sectors for national interests. We have already done economic sanctions, I guess, under sanctions. So let's move on to reshoring and reshoring. This means bringing manufacturing or supply chains back to the home country to reduce geopolitical risk. Next, we have supply chain resilience. These are the strategies to protect supply chains against geo-economic shocks such as trade wars, tariffs, sanctions, etc. We have regional blocs, which means an alliance of countries pursuing shared economic goals, for example, ASEAN and EU and Mercosur. So these are the where specific regions come together for shared economic goals. Now let's look at these examples and how to use these terms and expressions in your own sentences. First, our company is expanding operations into several fast growing emerging markets. Next, BRICS countries offer major opportunities for investment and trade partnerships. Next, investing in a frontier market can be risky but may yield high returns. Next, economic liberalization has attracted more foreign investment in recent years. Next, we expect catch-up growth in this region as incomes rise and infrastructure improves. Next, institutional reform has improved the business environment and increased investor confidence. Next, middle class expansion is creating new consumer demand for our products. Next, high capital inflows have boosted the local currency and stock market. Next, we assess sovereign risk before entering any new country to protect our investments. Next, currency volatility remains a concern for companies trading in emerging economies. Next, policies that support market openness make it easier to do business internationally. Next, the country's trade deficit grew last quarter due to higher imports. Next, political risk assessments are essential when planning projects in unstable regions. Next, resource dependence makes the economy vulnerable to sudden changes in commodity prices. Next, the government uses economic statecraft to strengthen its position in global negotiations. Next, international sanctions have limited our ability to operate in some markets. Next, changes in trade policy could impact our supply chain and costs. Next, gaining markets access is critical for expanding our brand in new regions. Next, we are considering a strategic investment in local infrastructure to support long-term growth. Next, state capitalism is common in sectors like energy and telecommunications in this country. Next, economic sanctions were imposed to pressure the government to change its policies. Next, the firm is reshoring production to reduce exposure to global disruptions. Next, improving supply chain resilience is a priority after recent trade tensions. Next, membership in a regional bloc offers businesses tariff-free access to multiple markets. So I hope you have understood how these terms can be used in sentences. And now we move on to learn more phrases and jargon. So growth engine. Let's begin with with this term. This refers to emerging markets as drivers of global economic expansion. We have already seen what emerging markets are. So countries with low to middle to higher income. Okay, not just existing at middle and higher income only. So these are emerging markets that are in the competition now. So these markets are they often act as growth engine for global economic expansion. Risk premium, another term, it refers to higher returns demanded by investors for the increased risks in emerging markets. Next term is decoupling, which means reducing interdependence between major economies, often for strategic or security reasons. Next, market entry strategy. This means a plan for launching business operations in a new or emerging market. Next, South-South trade. This means trade flows among developing or emerging economies as opposed to with high-income countries. Nearshoring, it means moving operations closer to major consumer markets to mitigate risks from distant supply chains. We have Belt and Road Initiative. Uh, let's say China's vast infrastructure investment and development program, which is a geo-economic tool. So, Belt and Road Initiative. We have trade war, which means retaliatory escalations of tariffs and barriers between major economies. We continue with our idioms and expressions. So, first is playing the long game. This means investing in or entering emerging markets with patience, understanding risks and potential. Next, change the rules of the game. This means governments in emerging markets or geo-economics where they may suddenly alter laws or environments. Next, tipping point. This is the critical moment when emerging market growth becomes self-sustaining or pivotal in global trends. Let's do this exercise, fill in the blank and fill in each blank with the most appropriate term that you have been doing and you have been looking at so far. A dash refers to fluctuations in exchange rates, often higher in emerging markets. B, the country adopted dash to reduce government intervention and promote foreign investment. C, companies use dash to enter new business markets effectively. D, dash is an economic system where the government controls significant sectors for national interests. E, dash describes government use of economic tools like sanctions or trade policy to achieve geopolitical goals. Here are the answers. A, currency volatility. B, economic liberalization. C, market entry strategy. D, state capitalism. And E, economic statecraft. Let's move on to do another exercise. This is multiple choice. So, identify which idioms means investing patiently in emerging markets and understanding risks and potential. A, tipping point. B, playing the long game. C, changing the rules of the game. D, growth engine. Next, which term describes an economy transitioning from low to or middle to high income while integrating with global markets? Your choices are A, frontier market. B, regional bloc. C, state capitalism. D, emerging market. And here are your answers. You have, so we have for answer to 2.1, you have answer B, playing the long game, which idiom means investing patiently in emerging markets and understanding risks and potential. So answer is B, playing the long game. And answer to the second one, which term describes an economy transitioning from low or middle to high income while integrating with global markets? The answer is emerging market. Let's move on to do this exercise. Decide whether each statement is true or false. A, capital inflows are investment funds from abroad entering emerging market economies. True or false? B, political risk includes the potential for regime changes or policy instability. True or false? And C, regional blocs are alliances of countries pursuing shared economic goals. D. Economic sanctions refer to physical military actions. E. Nearshoring involves moving operations further away from consumer markets. So let's look at the answers. A true, B true, C true, and D and E are false. Economic sanctions refer to physical military actions. No, these are economic actions. And nearshoring involves moving operations not further away but closer to the consumer market. So, thanks a lot for joining and see you next time very soon. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.